The next play we're going to be reading is Wah Tah Goo Siam by Brianna Rusker. I'll be playing Andy, a young boy in his preteens who is the main character.
I'll be playing Eli, Andy's oldest brother, and I'll be reading the stage direction.
I'll be playing Lee, Andy's third oldest brother.
I'll be playing Joseph, Andy's second oldest brother.
I'll be playing Bill, Andy's father.
The scene opens on a small log cabin in the woods in the Porcupine Mountains of Michigan. The woods are mostly cedar, pine, and other evergreens and are very wild with only a few rustic pathways. The cabin contains a small kitchen, exposed sleeping loft, and a large rustic wooden dining table. The surrounding woods are dense, and a path leads away from the cabin. It is evening on the night before Father's Day, and our main character, Andy, a young boy, is standing across the table, around the table, with his father and three older brothers.
Tell me about last year again. You guys were so close.
Andy, I've told you the story 100 times since we last went last year. You don't need to hear it again. Besides, we need to get planning.
Please, Dad, just tell me one little thing. You don't have to retell the whole story.
Okay, but just one thing. I remember this night when we got close to it. I remember this night we got... Okay, but just one thing. I remember this night that we got close to. It was one of the calmest, tamest that we've ever encountered. Sometimes they are really nasty, sometimes they are quick, rarely are they slow. This one did not hesitate or freeze when it saw us, and that's what threw us off. We created a rope trap to throw onto this night, and since we expected it to be moving so fast, we missed it by about 6 feet. It just walked slowly away before we had time to reset. By the time we knew what had happened, it had disappeared.
Wow. So are you guys going to do that again this year? What if it isn't a slow one? Will you recognize it?
Enough questions, Andy. I gave you your story. You should be satisfied.
Andy walks to the back of the table with his head down, feeling a little left out, Bill pointing to a map as the others look on.
So, if we take the high path east, I think we can surprise it instead of taking the normal route. We tried to surprise it with the new trap last year, but it was no good. I want to go back to our standby burlap bag, but go after the snipe from a different angle.
But it's Andy's first year. Shouldn't he get to experience the hunt in the same way that the rest of us did? I mean, we've taken that path every year since the beginning, and I don't see why we should go on changing it this time. We've been so close on that path before.
Well, that depends. Do we care more about Andy or actually catching the snipe? I think Dad is right. We ought to do what we can to have a successful hunt. I'm sick of coming back empty-handed every year, and just because we have to drag Andy along this year doesn't mean we have to fail.
Maybe we should ask Andy what he thinks we should do. He's heard our stories enough times. I'll bet he has an opinion. So, what do you think, Andy? Everyone turns to look at Andy, who has been in the background.
Well, I think, well, you see, I've heard all your stories, and, well, I don't think either of those are very good ideas.
Well then, son, what do you propose we do?
Well, first of all, are we sure it's even the right season for snipe? I mean, you guys always see them, but you never even catch them. Maybe we are hunting at the wrong time. Do you even know what they look like?
Oh, Andy, you clearly haven't done your research. This is the only time of the year to catch snipe. They're very sneaky animals and are hardly ever seen because they're extremely intelligent.
This is the only time of the year to really catch them off guard, because they are out earlier in the evenings with their babies trying to teach them their survival skills. Actually, Andy, when you guys were all unpacking and getting dinner ready last night, I wandered into the woods for some firewood. I was just walking around, minding my own business, when I heard something move about 10 yards away from me. And it was a mother snipe with 6 babies in tow. She was huge, Andy. He holds up his hands to show how big the snipe was. She was probably the biggest I'd ever seen. They had brown fur and long legs with sharp talons. Essentially the ugliest bird you ever saw.
Oh, well, I guess you guys are probably right. Well, I have done some planning, and I have some maps up in the loft. Let me go get them.
Andy scrambles up the steep ladder to the loft, shuffles through papers, and returns to the table with a newfound confidence.
See, I've been studying your stories all these years, and I have a plan. I think we should split up, send 3 on the traditional path, and 2 on the high path, and we'll meet in the middle. That way we can sort of herd the snipe into the middle.
What a fantastic idea, son. What do the rest of you think?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Grab your gear, everyone. We're on our way.
Scene change. The set is now at the beginning of a path along the woods. The path winds back and forth in a zigzag across the stage to get the effect of the characters moving a long way when they really end up on the other side of the stage. They all head outside to practice the traditional chant that always preludes the hunt.
Okay, Andy, listen very closely, because it is extremely important to get this chant right. Our ancestors used this chant since the beginning of time to summon the snipe during the hunt. Now repeat after me. Oh, Wah Tah Goo Siam.
Andy and his brothers repeat after his father. The chant picks up the pace until they are all yelling and chanting so fast it is hard to hear.
We are ready to begin the hunt.
Andy, his father, and Eli head off on the high path, exit up stage right, showing up along the path every so often. And his two other brothers set off on the traditional path, exit down stage right. Andy's father is carrying a burlap sack, and all the boys are carrying a knife and a flashlight. They walk slowly along the path, hearing branches rustle and other scary noises on the way.
I think we should be about to the right spot, don't you think, Dad? So, what should we do now?
Turn off your flashlight. I heard something. Stay close.
Andy, his father, and brothers rush into a small clearing and are met by his other two brothers. His father begins to yell and runs toward one end of the small clearing. He jumps in a full body slam onto the ground with the burlap sack. Andy runs quickly to him, knife in hand, shaking with anticipation. Everyone is yelling and trying to get a hold of the bag. Andy's father lets out a yelp, and his oldest brother rushes off into the woods after something.
I had it! I had the snipe and it's gone. Go after your brother. The snipe may be in shock and we can still get him. Go!
The men scatter into the woods, calling out for their brother. They all reconnect in the woods after a while. Eli finally comes limping out of the woods, bleeding from his leg and out of breath.
What happened to you? How'd you get hurt? I'm so sorry. This must be my fault. It was my plan. Oh, no.
Don't worry, Andy. I almost had him. I was right on its tail, and it sensed me, I think. It turned to attack before I had the chance to get away. I tried to follow it, but I couldn't keep up. I'll be okay.
Did you really almost catch it? I didn't even see it. What did it look like? How big was it? Oh, I wish I could have seen it.
Well, it certainly wasn't the one I saw yesterday. This one was much smaller. But I think it was a male. It was pretty vicious sounding.
You heard it? Why didn't I hear it?
You were probably all wrapped up in your adrenaline rush. It's pretty scary the first time, and I know I was scared on my first hunt.
All right, boys. We need to get your brother back to the cabin.
Scene change, back to the cabin. The men re-enter the cabin and they clean the brother's wounds and bandage his leg. Andy is visibly shaken from the events of the evening and decides to go to bed to sleep it off.
I can't believe it. That was so exciting. But I'm really sorry I messed up the hunt. Why couldn't I just let you guys plan it? I mean, I didn't even know anything about snipe.
Don't worry, Andy. Next year we'll get him.
I think I need to lie down. Maybe I'll feel better in the morning.
Once Andy is in bed, his father and brothers gather around the table.
That was incredible. I've never seen such a brilliant performance. I knew Andy was completely convinced.
Yeah, it was no big deal. Actually, when I ran into the woods, I collided with a fallen tree and my leg started bleeding. I knew it was the perfect addition to our hunt.
He will be talking about this for ages. None of us had a first hunt quite like this.
Yeah, I feel like my first hunt was pretty mild compared to this. I think we may have scarred Andy for life.
Ah, he'll be fine. We just have to hope that he doesn't catch on to the chant too soon.
Father and brothers whisper the chant, "Oh, Wah Tah Goo Siam," repeatedly until they reveal the true meaning of the chant, "Oh, what a goose I am." Their laughter continues as the curtain comes across the stage.